Hey there, paper geeks and glitter nerds, it's Senna, the crazy geek crafter, and this week I'm tackling what I believe will be the biggest project for this Christmas. I am making 2 boxes filled with old Christmas decor items from my childhood and one for my mom with things from her childhood, and of course some random bits and bobs to pull it all together. Now, I didn't invent this idea. I got inspired by Sam Calcott, who did this on her channel Mixed Up Craft last Christmas, and I have been waiting almost an entire year to make this box, which means I had also forgotten how she did it. I only had this loose idea of how she put it together, and then I went and got my foam board, and from those measurements I planned out my own box. Now we start out with this diagram for me to explain to you the pieces that I've already cut off screen. They're made from a foam board that I buy at my local hardware store. They're 10 millimeters thick, so I have adjusted my measurements to fit that. The first piece is the back piece, the piece called A on my drawing here. It is 300 by 300 millimeters, which would equal 12 by 12 inches approximately. Now there are 4 identical pieces which make the sides and the top and the bottom of the box. They are designed to interlock so that they are each 290 millimeters long, but with the added thickness of the next board, it will amount to the 300 that the back plate is at. Now it's important that I align these points on every single board so that the box comes together right, and I'll be looking out for that while I assemble it. Lastly, for each box I need a piece of pattern paper for the background, and then I need 4 pieces, one for each of the 4 sides for decoration. Now I will also need a piece of acetate to close in the objects in the box so they don't get dusty. This piece will need to be 300 by 300 millimeters, like the back piece of the box. For assembly, I use red tape, I use a glue gun, and the Collal all-purpose glue. Now, with this out of the way, I hope it'll make more sense when I go to assemble the box, now that you've seen the diagram and have the measurements of all the pieces. I filmed the entire process for both boxes, but I cut it together so you will in actuality only see one box. I just used whatever footage was the best for the one process. Now here I am labeling all the sides. I have made sure that they are all level at the corners, so I need to make sure I put them back in the right order. I labeled them with letters, that's the way it's easiest for me. And I did a dry run, that's why I'm now peeling off all this washi tape that I used to stick it together. I also mark which side is the inside of the board and which side of the inside goes towards the back of the box, so that everything fits together in the end. To attach the pattern paper I'm using for the boxes, I use red tape on the outline and then the glue in the middle to make it nice and sturdy. I did run out of 10 millimeter tape at one point, so I had to run out and buy a new roll, but they didn't have that size, so I only had 6 millimeters, and I do prefer the 10 millimeters for this project. I prefer to put the paper on in its entirety and then cut off the excess. If I had it just a tiny bit crooked somewhere, then it wouldn't show as much. Anyway, the outer 10 millimeters of this pattern paper will be covered by the sides, so I wasn't too worried about it not fitting. I chose to show you this box because I actually have directional paper on this one, and that meant I had to be very careful with the placement. That's why you'll see me throughout the process of putting paper on the four sides. I do a lot of back and forth, making sure that the text on these pages is turning the right way compared to the side that it's on. Now for all the pieces I put at the inmost side of the board I put the wider tape, and the outwards side I put the thinner tape, because I'm also going to put tape on the end here. Here on top here. So those will help each other keep the paper in place, and I'm also going to put glue so that it won't be going anywhere. When I glue on the paper, I make sure that the overhang is on the exact same side every 4 times I do this. This is to make sure that I can cover this end piece here, so the entire box looks seamless. I will also cut loose the inner side of the paper, since that one will sit on top of another piece of foam. I do pray that this makes just a tiny bit of sense. When I'm done gluing the paper to the board, I cut off most of the excess paper on the back, but I need to leave enough behind to cover up the back part of the box. Now all the pieces have been covered in paper, I'm ready to assemble the box. And again, it's very important that I keep the pieces in the correct order. In addition to the hot glue I'll be using to put the pieces together, I also use red tape on the edge of the back panel for gluing the paper on. The overlap from the sides is going to secure them even better to the back piece. Now that the glue gun is all hot, I have cut out all the waiting that I did for this project, and it was quite a lot. I'm ready to start gluing. I did manage to put glue in a place I was not supposed to, but burning myself and being persistent, I got it off again. One thing I will note is that one should take the liner off the red tape before one puts glue on anything, because that red tape really didn't want to stick to the foam, and then it wanted to, and then it wanted to stay on the release paper. It was annoying. So now I put glue on the side piece and on the new piece. And this next part was very hard to get on camera. I actually only got one good shot of it, and it's not even that good. I put it in here. I'm cutting off the excess of the paper on the side now that I put it on. And I'm struggling with the red tape again. And here you get a really good look at how I assemble each piece once I get the first one on. Sliding them in so they fit together. And for the last piece here, I'm going to have to squish it to get it into place, but that just means that I've got everything very nicely aligned. And here you get a better look at what I'm saying with the overlapping paper on the back. I'm gonna fold it in now and then tape it down. The first box I did use the liquid glue for it, but actually the tape was much better. I had so much trouble with the liquid glue, you wouldn't believe it. And now I just need to fix this tear I made accidentally with the tape. It ran away from me. It happens. Now the box is finished. This box. I'm just gonna miter the corners here. Since it's gonna be hidden underneath the etching I'm gonna do in the third video, it's not gonna matter that much. But it does look nice, and if you didn't want to put acetate on it, this would actually be enough. Especially on the wooden paneled box, it looks gorgeous. I'm just securing the edges of the paper here with some liquid glue. With the needle point on the bottle, it's really easy to get into these holes where I didn't have enough glue when I glued it on. I was not as lucky with the sides, the corners of the sides, with this box as I was with the other one. So luckily this wood grain panel actually was helpful. to that extent. I can cover them up with these pieces. Just have to score them, fold them, and cut the corners at an angle, as you'll see. And there were some divots. I hadn't cut the boards as straight as I would have liked, so I can fill them in with hot glue while I glue these on anyway. And now the glue gun is hot, I can fill in, like I said, the excess space here, and then cover it up with the, should we call it a bracket of paper? And it actually looks really nice when it's all done. Now that I've built the box, we can jump on to the decorating. That's video number 2. If you are not interested in all the weird things I put in these boxes, then I would encourage you to just jump straight to video number 3, since that is where I finish off the box. I install the lights, I put the acetate on, I put some edging on. If you are jumping to video number 3, you might have to wait just a little bit. I am publishing these on the same day, 15 minutes apart, so that they lie in your feed in the right order. That's the only way I can control it. At least I think so. But I'll be waiting for you in the next video.